Striving energy means that you are carrying everything alone through sheer willpower and effort. But sufficient grace means that God is carrying you and the load together. So think of it like this. Striving energy is like pushing a car uphill by yourself. It's exhausting, it's slow. You might get there, but you'll collapse at the top. But sufficient grace, that's like getting in the car, turning on the engine, and letting the car do what it was designed to do. You will steer it, you will still show up, but the power isn't coming from you alone. That's what sufficient grace is like. So let's break it down even a little more. Let's talk about what striving energy looks like. In your body, your jaw is clenched, your shoulders are tight, stomach is in knots. You're constantly tired, but you can't sleep. In your mind, the mental checklist is running 24/7, thinking if I don't do it, it won't get done right. You can't turn your brain off. In your actions, you're working until you physically just can't anymore. You're over explaining and over performing, doing all the over stuff, skipping your meals, your rest, and your joy just to get more done. And in your spirit, that striving energy looks like praying feels like presenting a business proposal to God. You're asking God to bless your plans, not asking for his plans. And you feel guilt when you rest. You have a core belief of it all depends on me. If I stop, everything falls apart. But sufficient grace, let's talk about what it looks like. In your body, you can take a deep breath without feeling forced. Your shoulders are relaxed. You are sleeping through the night. Your body feels like a home, not a machine. In your mind, you can think clearly without the mental fog. It is, I'll do my best and trust God with the rest. You can rest without guilt. And when worry comes, listen, you acknowledge it and you release it back to where it came from, okay? In your actions, it's working during work hours and resting during rest hours. Listen, the key here is rest. Are you hearing this? Right? Turning off your phone and actually disconnecting. Taking lunch breaks, walks, and moments of joy. And in your spirit, prayer feels like conversation, not performance. You're asking God, what do you want? Instead of, please bless what I already decided, right? You're reading your Bible for connection, not out of obligation, right? It's because you want it, you desire it. Your rest, it feels like you're worshiping, not about being rebellious. It feels worshipful, okay? And there's a core belief. There's a core belief in sufficient grace, and that core belief is God's got this. I'll do my part, and he gonna do his. It doesn't all depend on me. So I want you to read 2 Corinthians 12:9. My grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness. And what does that actually look like in real life? So sufficient means enough, adequate, all you need, not just barely enough, but fully enough. God's grace isn't just enough to get by, it's enough to thrive. But here's the catch. His power is made perfect in weakness. That means when you admit that you can't do it alone, that's when his strength shows up. When you stop white knuckling control, his power flows. When you release the pressure, his grace fills the gap. You can't experience sufficient grace while operating in striving energy. You got to choose one or the other, okay? Why? Because striving says, I got this. Grace says, I need you. All right? And so this last thing I'm going to go over is the practical difference. So we're going to look at the same situation through both sets of lenses, okay? Here's the scenario. You have a big presentation tomorrow and you're not ready. Yeah, I know it's Saturday, but just imagine with me for a moment that it's Monday morning and you have a big presentation and you did not prepare over the weekend, nor did you prepare on Friday to make sure that you were ready for Monday, right? Striving energy response. This is what would happen if you are operating with striving energy. You're going to stay up until 2 a.m. in the morning, perfecting every slide. You're going to rehearse it 55 times in your head. You're going to have anxiety that's going to keep you awake for the rest of the night. You're going to wake up exhausted, get a big cup of coffee, and just try your best to push through. And then you're going to beat yourself up for not starting earlier, for not working on this on Friday nor the weekend. And then the last piece, you're going to tell yourself, okay, I'm done procrastinating. But you know you're not. And the result of all of that is the presentation is going to happen, but you're going to be totally depleted. And then you're going to repeat this over and over and over again because you continue to work in striving energy. But let's look at this from a sufficient grace lens. You're going to do your best work until 9 p.m. And then you're going to pray, God, I've done what I can. I trust you with the rest. I've totally prepared for the knowledge that I have. I trust you with the rest. You're going to set your alarm and actually go to bed. You're going to wake up rested and then do a final review. Show up prepared in peace and thank God for carrying what you couldn't. And the result of all of that is the presentation will happen and you will have energy left. Plus, now you've built a new pattern of trust. A new pattern of trust. So I want us to experience shifting from striving to grace. Striving says, how can I make this happen? Where grace says, God, what are you already doing that I can join? Striving says, I have to do more. Grace says, I have to be more present to what God is already doing. You catching it? Striving measures how much did I accomplish, where grace measures how connected did I stay to the source. Striving produces burnout, resentment, and isolation, where grace produces rest, peace, and sustainable impact. So I want you to be able to recognize which area you're operating in. Are you operating in striving energy or are you operating in sufficient grace? So there's a PDF that I'm going to make sure that I send to you that shares more real life applications for us as women, right? So whatever our roles are, whether it's in marriage, in business, in motherhood, in friendship, whatever that role is, I'm going to make sure that you get the additional real life applications, right? And so you've been striving because you didn't know that there was another way, but now you do. Sufficient grace isn't about doing less. It's about carrying less while often accomplishing more. That's what sufficient grace is. It's about working from rest instead of for rest. Trusting God with the outcome that you can't control. Releasing the pressure that was never yours to carry and operating from overflow instead of obligation. And that's what this 3-day grace reset challenge is all about. It's about teaching you how to make the shift in practice, day by day, choice by choice. Go from striving to grace, from exhausted to anchored. All right. I look forward to sharing tomorrow's message with you all. I pray that this message reaches you well and actually speaks to your soul, speaks to your spirit, and allows you to understand the difference from striving energy to sufficient grace.